You are listening to the Brain Based Weight Loss Podcast. This is where you stop fighting your brain and start working with it so that weight loss can finally feel simple, sustainable, and eventually effortless. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 4 of the Brain Based Weight Loss Podcast. I'm your host, certified life and weight loss coach, Dori Sharvit. Today, I want to share something with you that is so subtle but so worth looking at because this one thing ends up derailing so many people's progress. And it has nothing to do with your diet or the food that you're actually eating. It is a thought. It's one specific thought that is so subtle, you may have even thought it multiple times a day. And by the end of this episode, you are never going to look at this thought the same way again. Okay, so what is the thought? It's, I'm cheating. Every time you eat something that's not on your plan, whether it's a donut in the office or you're picking at the bread basket at dinner, or you have a late night snack, it's that voice in your head that says, I'm cheating. And it feels so normal. Like, of course, I'm going to think I'm cheating if I'm eating something off my plan. But I want to show you what that thought is actually doing to you, what it's actually doing to your progress. So picture this. You're at work. Someone brings into the office your favorite donuts. And you start to contemplate for a moment if you should have the donut. And before you can even think about it, you grab one and you just tell yourself, okay, I'm just going to cheat a little bit. And then almost immediately after you eat it, the regret starts to set in. And it's very subtle. You tell yourself, oh, well, I already ruined today. And then from there at lunch, you end up getting something you didn't plan. And then same thing at dinner, you tell yourself, okay, I'm just going to start again later. I'll start fresh later. So now picture this alternative. Same situation, same office, same donut. But this time you eat it and you just think to yourself, I love donuts. This is delicious. And then you just move on. You get right back to your plan. You still eat for lunch what you plan to eat for lunch. You still eat for dinner what you plan to eat for dinner. But there's no guilt, there's no spiral, you have no drama about eating that donut. So this is the same exact donut, but two completely different outcomes. The only thing that changed is your thought about the donut. So let's back up for a second and think about this. Why are we even telling ourselves I'm cheating in the first place? The only reason why that thought even exists when it comes to food is because of diet culture. Our ancestors never thought to themselves, I'm cheating when it came to food. They just ate, period. That's it. Diet culture views food as good or bad. You're eating either good food or bad food. You need to eat the good food, stay away from the bad food. That is it. So, of course, when you eat something that you've labeled as bad, you say, I'm cheating when you eat it. It makes sense. And that is straight diet culture 101. You did something wrong, you cheated. But let's zoom out for a second. Let's zoom out to see the bigger picture outside of diet culture, outside of thinking of food as good versus bad, just for a moment. Okay, what is food actually? So food is fuel. Food is what keeps us alive. Eating food is something that human beings need to do in order to live. That is it. That is what it is at its most basic level. And yet we've overcomplicated it. We feel guilty about it. We fear it. We use it as a reward. We punish ourselves if we're eating the wrong things. And none of that has anything to do with the actual food itself. That is all diet culture. Okay, but now I want to be fair here because it does make sense how we ended up here. There are foods out there that are literally designed to make us eat as much as possible. There are people whose jobs out there are their whole job is to make food as irresistible as possible so that you can't stop. So, of course, as a result, these foods do have us gaining weight. So, the fear around food does make sense. It did not come out of nowhere. But the solution isn't to label foods as good versus bad because we know where that leads. It leads to is just a shame spiral the second we eat something that's quote unquote bad. That is what leads to the constant yo-yoing. You're either on your plan or you're off of it, but we're never actually getting to where we want to be. The actual real solution here is to heal your relationship with food. And that starts with appreciation, truly appreciating food. Think about it like this: we are human beings on this planet. We get to eat 3 times a day. How lucky are we that we get to experience foods that are so outrageously delicious? Food brings people together. Every single culture in the world celebrates with food. Food connects people. We love to share food. That is what food actually is. It is not the enemy. It is not something that we need to fear like diet culture told us to. It's not something that we need to feel guilty about. It is actually one of the greatest pleasures of being alive. And when you start to approach food with that energy, with appreciation instead of fear, that is when everything shifts. You're no longer feeling guilty. You're no longer spiraling. And food goes from something that you have to control to something that you can actually enjoy. Now, I can already feel that you're probably thinking, if I stop feeling guilty around food and I just appreciate it, won't I just eat everything in sight? Like, won't I just lose control? And I hear this all the time, and it makes sense that you would think that because up until now, guilt feels like that is what is keeping you in check. Like, if you stop feeling guilty suddenly about food, you're just going to eat all the food. But this is what I've found: it's actually the opposite. When you fear food, when certain foods are forbidden or off limits, they actually become more powerful. You actually create more desire for it. You want them more. And then when you finally do give in and eat the thing, you end up eating way more than you normally would because you don't know when you're going to let yourself eat like that again. But when no food is off limits, when you can have a donut anytime you want, it loses its power over you. You actually enjoy it and you move on because you're not afraid of it anymore. And now, to be super clear, appreciation doesn't mean eating whatever you want, whenever your lower brain tells you to. Because your lower brain is your survival brain. That part of your brain runs on instant gratification. It wants to seek pleasure. It's always going to want the high sugar, super delicious foods. So when I say appreciation, it's not just letting that part of your brain run wild, because that is not appreciation. That is just giving in to every impulse. True appreciation means making food decisions with your higher brain, with your prefrontal cortex. Your prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain that's able to make decisions for your future self. It's able to think things through. It's able to know if am I gonna feel good after I eat this, or am I gonna feel sick after I eat this? And also, what amount do I want to eat that's going to make me feel good after? For example, your lower brain would totally eat an entire box of cookies, but your higher brain would never make that kind of decision. So choosing foods with your higher brain is a completely different experience. It's not white knuckling, it's not spiraling. It's intentional, it's grounded, and it's actually sustainable. And I also do want to acknowledge that for some people, stopping at one donut is genuinely hard, even when you're fully appreciating. And that is not a lack of willpower. Sometimes it's just your hunger hormones are out of balance. And that is what makes it difficult for your brain to register when you've had enough. That is a very real issue, and that is also something that I work on with my clients. But even then, healing your relationship with food first is always the foundation. Because anytime you're making food decisions from guilt and shame, it will never lead to where you want to go. So here is what I want you to take away from today. The thought, I'm cheating, is not keeping you on track. It's actually taking you off track. It's ultimately creating guilt, creating shame, and it's creating a relationship with food that is exhausting and unsustainable. And it all stems from diet culture. So here's what I want you to try this week. The next time that you eat something that's not on your plan, I want you to notice if that thought, I'm cheating, comes in. And if it does, I just want you to zoom out and remember, you are a human being on this planet and you get to enjoy food. Food is not your enemy, and it never was. If you do choose to enjoy the donut or whatever it is that shows up, I want you to fully enjoy it and truly appreciate it. And then move on like it's nothing. Because truly it is nothing. And when you start to believe that, that is when everything changes. That is when you're able to enjoy your favorite foods and move on and weigh what you want, because that is what you ultimately want. You want that freedom to be able to still enjoy what you want and lose the weight, weigh what you want. Okay, so that is it for today. Have an amazing week. If you keep thinking, I know what to do, I'm just not doing it, start with my free training. It's called Why Knowing What to Do Isn't Enough for Lasting Weight Loss. You can watch it at loseitwithdory.com/free-training. And if you want personalized one-on-one support, you can book a free consult. Go to loseitwithdory.com and click book a free consult. Lastly, if you're enjoying this podcast, leaving a review helps more people find it, and I would so much appreciate it. I'm so glad you're here, and have an amazing week.